Well, let's return now to our top story this lunchtime, and that petition that's calling on Donald Trump's state visit to the UK to be downgraded. Downing Street have said this morning the visit will go ahead despite more than 1 million people joining the online protest. It comes just hours before nationwide protests are due to be held in the UK against the 90-day travel ban imposed by President Trump on people from 7 mainly Muslim countries. Well, Rehman Chishti is a Conservative MP who thinks that President Trump should be allowed to come to the UK, but not necessarily be given the full state visit treatment. Mr. Chishti joins me now from central London, and a very good afternoon to you. I mean, this protest is gathering signatures by the minute. Is there a tipping point where you think actually a state visit should be banned altogether?
Well, look, what I would say in terms of the action taken by the President of the United States is completely unacceptable, it's discriminatory, and also it's contrary to our British values of tolerance, respect, equality, and respect for religious freedom. So in my view, as a head of the United States, of course he should come to the United Kingdom, but what we should do is make it very clear, symbolically, like he's done by carrying out his executive order, symbolically make it very clear when he meets the Prime Minister at number 10, when they do questions to the media, the Prime Minister to make it very clear, like she did when she was in Washington in relation to our separate policy on Russia to the United States, to say his position in relation to the executive order banning people from Muslim countries coming into the United Kingdom, to the United States, is contrary to our British values and is unacceptable. So I would say yes, allow him in, but the nature and the tone of the state visit should reflect the signing of the executive order and be different to what it would have been otherwise.
Well, be that as it may, Theresa May is very unlikely to do that, given that it took, several prompts at a press conference and a late-night dispatch from Downing Street on Saturday to admit that she was distancing herself from Donald Trump's policy on all of this. And she's keen to establish this special relationship, isn't she, given that we are economically vulnerable in the face of Brexit? She needs to give Donald Trump all the bells and whistles that she possibly can.
Well, let me make it very clear. I've had an excellent relationship and continue to do so with the American Embassy in London, having hosted their former ambassador at large for religious freedom. But when you have a constructive friendship, when you have a special friendship, when you have a special relationship, then you have to say to the special friends that their acts and behaviour is unacceptable, and in this case is likely to feed into the hands of terrorists and extremists, because they want to create a perception of war between Islam and civilization, and by carrying out such executive order it feeds in to the propaganda of this evil death cult Daesh. And I know my Prime Minister and the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom stands firmly for British values. So when you have somebody coming to the United Kingdom, who is openly and clearly stating a policy which is discriminatory and some would say racist, and the former ambassador of the United States to London says is contrary to the United States Constitution, then I think we have a moral obligation to make very clear that his remarks, his actions are wrong, unacceptable, but also make the world a dangerous place.
Even if you're dealing with a leader that many describe Donald Trump as somebody who doesn't take personal criticism well, what if Theresa May is privately saying all of these things but doesn't want to do it publicly at a press conference, as you suggest, during a highly public and globally interested state visit? I mean, surely that's the wrong time to be doing it. Much more your leader's style would be to be quietly doing it in the background, wouldn't it?
Well, look, I know from the conversations that I've seen have taken place at various different levels, those discussions and those messages were previously conveyed when he made the remark when he was running for the office of president, but you know what? They had no effect at all. He went on and actually carried out the executive order. So what do you do when you have somebody who takes a certain position which is discriminatory, which is inhumane, which is contrary to British values? Do you say nothing, or do you stand up and go with your values and your morals and what stands for the United Kingdom? Democracy, freedom and liberty, and irrespective of him being the President of the United States. Look, I accept he is the elected President of the United States. We respect that, we respect the will of the American people, but if he makes certain remarks which put the world in a more dangerous place and also divides the world and tries to divide our society, then we have a moral obligation at every level to say to him he is wrong, and therefore he should change his discriminatory behaviour.
But as you say, he does have a mandate. He didn't make a secret of these views during the campaign. He's only doing what he was elected to do. And we have a history in this country, don't we, of welcoming heads of state, whatever their politics may be. And in the past, we've had many heads of state step foot on British territory who've got controversial records on human rights. We could list, countries like China. We've rolled out the red carpet for them. So is there a bit of hysteria when it comes to Donald Trump?
Well, look, I was the one who previously, when there was a debate when people said he should not be coming to the United Kingdom, when he first made these remarks about a year ago, I said, look, he should be allowed to come to the United Kingdom because he was running for the office of the President of the United States. Otherwise, there's no difference between what he does by banning people and us as a society which believes in freedom. But the reality is, when somebody comes to your country, and here in the United Kingdom are British values of equality, respect and tolerance, and they actually in our country stand up and say they are proud of what they are doing, then I would say we have a responsibility to say to that person they are wrong. But equally, the first duty of the state, wherever you are around the world, is to protect your citizens, and his actions are likely to feed into the hands of Daesh and Al-Qaeda, as has been said in the United States by Senator McCain and others. And I say on that basis, first duty to protect the citizens of our country. His actions are likely to feed into the acts of extremism, and we should stand up to our values and principles.
Okay, Rehman Chishti, really good to talk to you.
Westminster for us, Norman.
Lunchtime saying that the PM is, quote, very happy to have invited Donald Trump on this state visit, despite a growing backlash with that petition signed by more than 1 million people, some protests as the Prime Minister left that joint ministerial council in Cardiff, unease being expressed not just by the Labour leader but also by the Liberal Democrat leader, a number of Conservative MPs too, and we will hear later this afternoon from the Foreign Secretary Boris Johnson. Well, joining me is the Conservative MP Rehman Chishti. What do you want to hear the Foreign Secretary say?
Well, what I want the Foreign Secretary to say publicly and openly, to say the actions taken place by the President of the United States by executing the order which he did, banning people from certain countries with a Muslim background coming into the United States, is completely discriminatory, and it stands against our British values of tolerance, respect and freedom. But also, those actions feed into the hands of extremists and terrorists like Daesh and Al-Qaeda, and therefore make our world more of a dangerous place.
Given that, do you think the government should scrap the proposed state visit?
I've never said that the government should scrap the state visit for Donald Trump, the President of the United States. We have an excellent relationship with the United States. He should come, because if we ban him or scrap the visit, what is the difference between us and him? But what I would say, the tone and the nature of the state visit should reflect the fact that this is not what he would have got had he not made that executive order, which is discriminatory, wrong and inhumane.
But surely if we simply invited him but did not grant him a state visit, then we would show we are friends with the United States, but we did not condone his actions with this travel ban.
Well, look, what I would say is we have to be as symbolic as the President of the United States has been with his ban. He's gone around, he's carried it out, and he's saying what a great thing it is. So therefore we, morally and principally, stand against that with our British values, and to a good friend, the United States, we should openly and publicly and frankly say to him, he is wrong at every level, and this puts the world at a more of a dangerous place.
Do you think Theresa May underestimated the scale of unhappiness she was likely to provoke by the close ties with President Trump?
No, not at all. I think you have to look at when the executive order was made. The executive order was signed when the Prime Minister had left the United States. If the question was put to her at the time, in my own personal view, knowing what the Prime Minister stands for, respecting our British values, should have been as clear as she was when she made the comment regarding Russia, to say the United Kingdom has a separate policy with regards to Russia, an agreement on the Minsk protocol on that. So I think it should have been very clear had the matter been put at the time, but at the time the executive order by the President had not been put into effect.
How do you read the fact, though, that more than 1 million people have now signed this petition in what space of 48 hours or so?
I think what it quite clearly shows is that great citizens of our country respect liberty, freedom, democracy, tolerance, and therefore I would say the government has to take into account the feelings of our citizens. feelings. And the feelings of our citizens is that, the actions and the behaviour of the President of the United States are discriminatory and contrary to our British values. And on that, I would say we have to be very clear in relation to the tone and the nature of the state visit he gets.
Rehman Chishti, thanks very much.
Rehman Chishti. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Foreign Secretary has said British citizens should be treated on equal basis regardless of religion or ethnic origin. Can I say this to the Foreign Secretary? When I entered the United States before being a Member of Parliament, on 2 occasions I was stopped at the United States immigration and asked what country I was born in. Well, I was born in Pakistan, but I'm a British national. Can the Foreign Secretary agree with me that anyone who faces this should write to the Foreign Office so we have a record and we can make appropriate representations to the United States?
Yes, and I think I would point out to my honourable friend that this, of course, I assume took place under the Obama administration, and it is something that obviously I'm very happy to receive correspondence about. But again, he and every other possessor of a UK passport will be free to travel to the United States without let or hindrance.